Bullet ant. The Sateré-Mawé people of the Brazilian Amazon weave hundreds of these ants into gloves, stingers pointed inward, and young men wear them for 10 minutes without pulling away. This happens multiple times, over months, as part of a coming-of-age ritual. The ant behind it, Paraponera clavata, sits at the top of the entomologist pain scale used to rank insect stings. And people who've been stung describe burning, throbbing pain that can last up to 24 hours. It's not an aggressive species, though it stings when a nest gets disturbed, not out of any interest in humans. The venom is called ponerotoxin, and unlike a lot of stinging insects, this one keeps its stinger and can strike more than once. Researchers still study the venom today, mostly because of what it might teach us about how pain receptors work in general. Maricopa harvester ant. Small, reddish-brown, moves kind of slowly. Nothing about how this ant looks suggests danger. When entomologist Justin Schmidt tested its venom on the same scale used to compare snake venoms, it came out ahead of both a cobra and a rattlesnake. Ahead of both! A single sting won't kill a healthy adult, since the actual dose is too small. But scale that venom by body weight, and the numbers get extreme. Schmidt eventually ranked it as the most toxic insect venom ever measured, which is a strange thing to learn about a bug that just sits in the desert, tending its tunnels and harvesting seeds. No swarming, no aggression, nothing dramatic about how it lives day to day. Red imported fire ants. They arrived in Mobile, Alabama sometime in the 1930s, hidden in the ballast soil of a cargo ship from South America. Solenopsis invicta doesn't rely on one powerful sting. It relies on numbers and coordination. Disturb a mound, and workers pour out by the hundreds, gripping skin with their jaws first, then stinging in a slow, circular motion, which is why the bites tend to form these near-perfect rings on skin. The welts turn into white pustules within a day, and for people with allergies, a mass attack can trigger anaphylaxis. During floods, they link their bodies together using surface tension and trapped air, forming a raft that can keep the whole colony, queen included, alive on open water for weeks until it reaches land. They've since spread across the southern US, parts of Asia, Australia, the Caribbean, and wherever they settle, native insect populations tend to decline. Farmers lose crops. It adds up slowly. Jiver ants. 20 million individuals, sometimes more, and no permanent nest at all. Doralist colonies just keep moving through the forests and savannas of Central and Eastern Africa. And instead of building anything fixed, the workers link their own bodies together to form temporary walls, bridges, shelters for the queen structures they tear down and rebuild every few weeks as they march. Old stories about them stripping entire villages bare are mostly exaggeration. Their real diet is insects, worms, small invertebrates caught in their path. But there's a real basis under the myth, too. Infants and immobilized people have died when a swarm passed through unguarded shelters. Not because the ants were hunting them specifically, but because anything that can't move becomes vulnerable to sheer numbers. The soldier ants carry oversized, sickle-shaped mandibles built for fighting, and in parts of West Africa, those jaws have historically been used to close wounds clamped over a cut until the bodies snapped off, leaving the head locked in place as a kind of natural stitch.
Jack jumper ant. Tasmania has recorded more deaths from ant stings than from snake bites. Ramesia palossula hunts alone rather than swarming, roughly fingernail length with sharp eyesight, and it tends to leap toward whatever disturbs it instead of running, which is where the name comes from. The venom wasn't built with humans in mind. It's meant for paralyzing insects, but it triggers a severe allergic reaction in a meaningful percentage of people who get stung, and the sensitivity tends to build with repeated stings, rather than fade over time. First sting might just hurt. Third one can cause anaphylaxis within minutes. Australian researchers built one of the only insect venom immunotherapy programs in the world around this specific species, gradually desensitizing patients through controlled exposure. And it's worked well. Asian needle ant. Brachyponera chinensis showed up in the southeastern US sometime in the 20th century, probably in imported soil or nursery plants from East Asia, and almost nobody noticed. It's small, dark, barely a third of an inch, nests under logs instead of building visible mounds. For years, it stayed under the radar, while louder invasive species got all the attention.
Then, researchers noticed native ant populations quietly disappearing in areas where it had settled. Even fire ants, a species usually considered impossible to displace once established. It simply outcompetes them, which disrupts the seed dispersal relationships a lot of forest ecosystems depend on. The sting itself is described as pulsing rather than burning, fading and returning over the next hour or so. And for a small number of people, it can escalate into full anaphylaxis. No dramatic swarms, no visible mounds, just a slow replacement of whatever was there before.